Hello, welcome back to the Crafty Organizer. I'm Noreen Burke, and today we're going to talk about paper clutter, what to keep, what to get rid of, and some file options that you can use to help you maintain these systems. I don't know what it is about papers, but I know I personally used to work as an executive assistant. I was on top of so many file systems. I had to manage other people's expense reports, travel calendars, all of the documentation that was coming through, contracts. I was on top of these systems, yet I would come home to my own paperwork and just look at this massive pile going, I don't know what to do with this. It took me a long time to start realizing that I needed to approach my home papers the same way that I approached my work files. So once I set up really simple systems that I could maintain, keep purging on a regular basis so I wasn't holding on to extra things, that's when my paperwork no longer became an issue. It doesn't mean I don't still dislike it greatly, but at least it's manageable now. It had been a few years since I had personally gone through my files. When I got my new desk set up, I knew it was time to go ahead and go through, so I decided to bring you with me. Because paperwork is such a daunting task and it's overwhelming, I suggest breaking it down into manageable sessions. Not knowing how long this was going to take me, I committed to spending 10 minutes a day until it was done. With my list in hand, which I'll share with you later in this video, I began weeding out and purging all of the paper items I didn't need any longer. Most of these sessions were super quick, and I was actually surprised that I got through so much in that 10-minute time. But then this last day, I was done. I didn't want to do it anymore, but thankfully, that was the end of mine. I was stunned that it only took me 5 sessions or 50 minutes to get through this. Now, if I had tried doing this all at once, I don't think I would have gotten through it because, let's face it, doing this type of a task is not enjoyable. It has a lot of questions, so take it in small chunks. So once I was done, I had a pile of things that I could throw away. This was anything that didn't have my name or account number. I just went ahead and put that into recycling. For items that I did have personal information on or account numbers, I took this to Staples. Now, I'm not sponsored by them. I just found that they were, in my opinion, one of the best resources. I discovered they have a shredding bin through Iron Mountain, and Iron Mountain is a company that I used to use when I worked in a medical office. So they're highly respected, very reputable. There's a locked bin when you get to Staples. They'll have you weigh the amount of paper that you have, and they just charge $1 per pound. It was easy for me to slip this inside of the container. The bin is locked and no one has access to it until the truck comes. They unlock it, dump it immediately into the shredder on the spot. Now, if you're not comfortable using a shredder service, there are shredding events that happen usually in the spring or fall, so start looking for those right now. Other options are you can pay to have a shredding company come to you and watch them shred it. This is great if you truly have a large quantity. Otherwise, get yourself an inexpensive shredder and just start going through a little at a time until you're all caught up, and then make sure you do it on a regular basis so that you don't have a large pile to contend with later. Now that my papers were all decluttered, it was time for me to revisit my systems. I like having the high level of categories just like I do in my office. So I have banking, finances, home, personal files. I have medical, school because my kids are still in school, important records, and then of course taxes. Once I have my main category set up, I can start funneling down and creating subcategories. For example, for banking, I use 2 banks, so I would have 2 separate sections for each bank. And then within each individual bank, I would have files broken down by the exact account number. And that would be my title. For example, it would be Banking, Bank of America, and then my account number. Then inside, I can just keep things organized chronologically. This is truly such an easy way to set up your files. When you're going to put something in, you know what it is, so all you have to do is go to that category by keeping the subcategories alphabetized, and then within each smaller category, by drilling it down by account number, you can just drop it inside, and it's easy to maintain. Now, if this doesn't sound like something you want to try and tackle, there is a wonderful system called Freedom Filer. Again, not sponsored by them. I've used this before with clients and I have always had great success. And I've had clients tell me when they've tried it all on their own that they love them. So check out Freedom Filer. They have a bunch of different systems as well as binder options if you don't want to use a file cabinet. So let's talk about what to keep and get rid of. And if you don't want to grab a pen and paper, don't worry. I have this as a free printable and I'll have that in the description below and I'll talk about it at the end of this video. So let's start with the items that you replace frequently. These are documents that are discarded as soon as the new statement comes in. These are things like insurance policies, investment policies, even Social Security statements. When the new one comes in, verify that the information hasn't changed, or if it has, if there's anything you need to address, then we would move it into a to-do pile, but file that new one in there. You don't need to accrue a whole history of these. Now, I know some people like having the accrual of information, and if you have the space for it, and this is something that you enjoy having, by all means have it, but you don't need to keep them. Next, let's look at the things that you only need to keep for about a month at a time. ATM receipts are not something you need to keep beyond when you balance your checkbook. Once you've verified that it's on your statement and it's correct, you can go ahead and throw it away. And because it doesn't have your full count number on it or your name, you can literally just recycle it. If you want to be safe, go ahead and shred it, but it's not required. Next up are credit card receipts. Keep them until your statement comes in. Once you've verified the amounts, you don't need to keep them. If your credit card information is printed on that receipt, make sure to shred it. Otherwise, it can just go in the recycle bin. On utility bills, as soon as you verify that the last payment went through and that no rates have changed, you can go ahead and discard this. Now, you might want to keep 2 months worth if you know that you're going to have to establish any type of identity. Some places like the DMV require utility bills to verify, and sometimes they want more than a month. So be aware of that if you know you're going to be doing anything with the DMV or any way of verifying your identity. Now, medical billing and medical records are two very different things. If you have the space, I recommend keeping all of your medical records in a file and keep them in chronological date. This really helps if you switch doctors or if you have a situation that comes up and you specifically remember taking a medication or having some sort of a procedure to have that documentation. Medical billing, however, once you verify that your payment has gone through and there have been no billing errors, you do not need to keep these unless you're using them for tax purposes. For everyday receipts, once you're sure you're keeping the item, you don't need to keep it. However, if it's a bigger ticket item, I attach the receipt to the home warranty and the instruction manual so that if anything goes wrong with it, I have the receipt right there so that I can actually use the warranty that goes with the item. If you are using these for itemized tax purposes, get 12 folders, January through December, and just drop them in the corresponding month. And that way, if you ever need to recall anything, you've got an idea of where that receipt is, and they're already in order so that all you have to do is list them out or give it to your tax professional. Since we're talking about taxes, as of today's date, this is September 7th, 2021, the IRS website says that you only need to keep your tax records from the last 3 years. What? This is a huge change from the 7 to 10 years that I had always heard about. Now, before you get excited and throw a party and start having a big bonfire with all of your old tax records, check with your legal and tax professionals to make sure that this is what is best for you and your personal situation. That if you don't have a business, you don't have a huge trust that you're having to deal with, you're just like me with a tiny bit of income that comes in, 3 years is all that you need according to the IRS website. Yay! Now, here is a list of documents you should not ever get rid of. I'm going to say that again because I have heard so many people go through enormous amounts of stress and complications trying to replace documents that they didn't know they were going to need. So the rule of thumb that I always give is if it's super difficult to get that document to begin with, don't let it out of your files. Some of these include marriage certificates, birth and death certificates, social security cards, pension plans, ID cards and passports, business license, military discharge papers, any active insurance policies, wills, living wills, powers of attorney, vehicle titles, loan documents, and then of course house deeds and mortgage documents. These are documents that should be kept in a very safe place. If you have a lockable file that is fireproof, if you have a safety deposit box, if you have a larger safe, some place where you can keep these documents so that you always have access to them, but you know where they are and they are safe no matter what happens, is the best way to handle these types of documents. Now again, these are all guidelines that I've researched. If you have a specific need or circumstance, of course, keep the documents that apply to you. And if you're not sure, check with a legal professional or your tax advisors. If you would like a free printable of what to keep and what to get rid of for your paper clutter, go to my website. It's crafty-organizer.com. You'll see an area of Crafty Organizer merchandise and downloads, and the only download I currently have is the paper clutter document for the archival. Go ahead and add that to cart. It's free of charge right now. I do have a watermark on it that will not be on the item that you get to download. It does ask for just a little bit of information at checkout. If you don't mind entering that information, and then before you complete, go ahead and opt in if you would like to get emails and notifications when I add new downloads. Once you click out, your download is right there. You can go ahead and download it to wherever it's convenient for you. I'm going to be working on a ton of new printables, worksheets, planners. I went onto my Patreon and asked what types of things you were looking for. After that, I did ask that question on my Facebook page as well, and you guys were so helpful with giving me wonderful ideas to create these pages for you. So check out my website. I'm going to be updating that as regularly as I can right now. Pretty soon, I hope to have a huge assortment of selections and downloads for you. Thank you so much to my patrons who allow me to make these videos, and thank you to you for watching. If you enjoyed today's video and you haven't already, please change the color of that subscribe button. Doing so will let YouTube know that you find value in my channel. If you did like today's video, go ahead and give that like button a click as well. I'll see you guys in just a few days when I take a cardboard box and turn it into a high-end looking storage piece. We'll see you then. Bye.